All right, hello, and thank you for joining us today. An extra thank you to everybody who submitted a question. There is a Q&A facility that you can use throughout this session if you have any additional questions, or if we can't get them today, one of the team will email you afterwards for an answer, because we've got quite a few. Thank you, everybody. Today, I am joined by Ajmal and Fernando, both of who work for our Enterprise Contact Centre team. Say hello, guys, please. Today's going to be an informal Q&A session, so there's no death by PowerPoint, I promise. Just got a few slides to introduce us, the team and the agenda. So as I said, we've got Ajmal and Fernando here. Just a couple of words about them on there. If you want to have a quick read, we'll also share these afterwards as well, so you've got a bit more information about the guys. So today's agenda, we have split the questions into 3 sections. So we've got how to choose a contact center technology that's right for you and your business. How do you make the most of the contact center technology you have already? And then looking at what the future holds for contact centers, especially in these, I hate this sentence, like I said anyway, unprecedented times. And then we'll go into our final thoughts, and we've got something exciting to share with you at the end as well. So I'm going to go into the there you go, supposed to be told to have grey boxes, sorry about that. We're now going to go into the first question, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen, if I can. There we go, hello. So, first question, guys. How do you choose the right contact centre technology for your business?
That's a big question.
An interesting one and easy to respond. Ajmal, go on.
Well, I guess the first thing would be to come and talk to Fernando. He'll be able to help you. But at the moment, we get that a lot. We get a lot of people coming to us and saying, well, I need to choose a contact center technology, and it's a big question because it's not a question you can answer without asking a whole load of other questions. So you check where you are on your journey to be becoming digital, or if you ever want to be digital, what kind of customer base do you have? What kind of processes do you have? What's the current technology? Can it live as an integration layer with all of your other systems if that's what you want? Do your customers use apps? Do they use phone? Do they use digital? But I think the important point here is that kind of question is almost self-limiting, because if you say, well, that's the thing that's holding me back, I'm just going to move to a new technology and everything will be great, probably not the right question to ask. It's more about aligning yourself to a partner, a technology partner who can guide you through that, someone who's got the trust, your trust, that says, well, actually the thing that you've got, we can actually sweat that a little bit more, but here's some things that we can layer around it. And when we move to the next phase, be it that cloud or contact center as a service or private cloud or whatever that might be, you can then move or evolve in a way that gets you the outcomes that you're going for, and you've got the data to prove that you're doing it as you're going along, that you're doing it correctly. That's the short answer. We stop right there.
I would like to hear the long answer. Not today, anyway.
Yeah, I was deliberate me keeping it short.
So, Fernando, then, what are the pros and cons of using a CRM solution as your single agent desktop? So a lot of people have a CRM solution anyway, and they want to know whether it's worth using that for their contact center details as well. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, it's actually a question that we get a lot. Sometimes when we're starting having all of those sessions of understanding a business and trying to shape up how a contact center is going to look for them, they quite often have a CRM solution and as a system of record for all of the details for the customer relationship management. It's often seen as the application that should be in front of the agent. And that is not wrong. And there is no right or wrong answer, actually. In some organizations, this will work just fine. In some other organizations, what we find is that the CRM is not the only application that the agent needs. So he needs some details that will come from the CRM. He will need some other details that will come from some other backend applications like ERPs or others. So in some situations, you would probably need to, instead of use your CRM, use an advanced agent desktop that can pull information from multiple applications and then present the right information in the right timing in front of the agent. This will obviously accelerate and get the customer journeys even better. But maybe let me use here this opportunity to talk about APIs and maybe like how to integrate all of this. So I would see there are 3 ways of having a good agent desktop. Let's classify them as the CRM with maybe an off-the-shelf or bespoke connector, which can be developed by a partner or yourself. Then you can have the advanced agent desktop that I mentioned that will come and pull information from different applications. That's the other option. And you have a third option, which is build your own agent desktop. So the Cisco solutions, which are the ones we normally work with, they have a comprehensive set of APIs that will allow you to do that. But in terms of best practices, it might not be the best approach, as it will create normally over-engineered and a lot of technical depth on your agent desktop. If you want to change things in the future, you'll be kind of locked into that. So more often than not, the CRM or the advanced agent desktop are the 2 options, and the 2 main options and the advised ones. We'll touch this point a bit later down the line, but again, just to reemphasize, there are no right or wrong answers. We need to sit down, we need to discuss, and there will be one tailored solution and design per organization. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you very much. So, Ajmal, moving over to like IVR, what do you find the most effective? No IVR, simple DTMF, speech recognition, or even complex natural language recognition? What are you finding works best, and where do you think we're going to?
Stop asking me questions I can't give short answers to. I mean, that's a really good question, and I think if I speak from a consumer of services, so insurance company, water company, gas company, whatever it might be, I prefer to just pick up the phone and get through to somebody straight away. And what I don't want to do is then have to explain myself, or if they transfer me, say who I am again. And a lot of this depends on how mature your customer experience is and your systems are, and how they're layered together. So if, say, for example, your customers they're quite digital, they use an app, and they decide to call from an app, then you know quite a lot about them. You know what they were doing in the app. You know who they are. So that identity is quite persistent. So you can say, well, actually, from that point, I can tap into a whole load of other systems and go, they're most likely to call about this because they've written me a letter, they sent me an email, and they called last week. So you can then go, well, actually, I'll give them 2 options, and it's going to be one of those, and I'll route them through. And you go, that's pretty slick. And when they get there, the agent knows all about them, and it's great. But if you don't have those things, you could have a multi-layer DTMF style IVR, but people feel that they're old hat, but it depends. If you do it in a way that navigates the customer through in a fairly painless way and takes a lot of the friction out of just, back in the day, it was layer after layer after layer. And now people have cottoned on to the fact, hang on, it's not acceptable anymore. So in different situations, there's different ones that apply. And, at the far extreme is the complex natural language, where you might go, well, actually, it's a free form thing. And an insurance company might say, hey, how can I help you? And you'll say, I want to make a new car insurance claim. And it picks out the right words and puts you through to the right department. But you have to be really mature in how you do things, your processes, your people, your technology, all of your back-end systems. So there's a different solution for everybody. But again, you have to have a partnership somewhere.
Natilik?
Well, I mean, I don't want to influence anybody, but I was just going to go. They should probably have somebody, like Natilik, who's worked with those kind of things.
So then, talking of knowing more about the customer, does this where knowledge management fits in, the CX and customer experience in 2020, or does that fit in somewhere else?
Well, it does. It does in that evolution, because once you've got that information about the customers and you can pass it between systems, including that identity and context, it means that knowledge management can then do things like first contact resolution. So someone's called up, you kind of already know what they're going to ask. You kind of know quite a lot of it. You might even know what kind of mood they're in. because you do a bit of sentiment analysis on all their previous interactions, the voice recordings, the emails, the chats, whatever that might be. So knowledge management gives you that sort of nudge to say they're most likely to ask about this, and this is how you could handle it. But not only that, when that transaction is completed, knowledge management has the power to tell you, well, most customers who come in and ask about that, they call back in a week and call about this thing. So you're almost preempting the next interaction as well and completing it there. So if someone's booking a holiday, for example, you might go, well, actually, there's travel insurance, you're going to a certain place, you might need a green card, all of these things tied together. So suddenly you're not only helping them with what they actually want by knowing what they've already done, but then you can say, well, actually, you're probably going to do this. Do you want me to help you with that as well? So that, knowledge management has a very important part to play. But again, it's that maturity of where you are in your journey.
No, that makes sense. Thank you very much. So obviously, a lot of us are working at home at the moment. And that includes contact center agents and call agents. How do you ensure calls are of high quality and consistent quality, particularly now everyone's working from home?
That again, it's something that's obviously been asked a lot in the current climate, and you get a black mark against your name because you said unprecedented right at the beginning, and we're not allowed to say that anymore.
I did say I didn't like it.
But what happens is if you've successfully, and I mean, on the technicalities of moving people at home, Fernando's a better place to tell you about all of those things and the solutions that are available. But if you've done that bit successfully, then all of your processes and the technology that you use for call recording, compliance, PCI, whatever it might be, secure payments, and then quality management, they should still apply in exactly the same way. The thing that's thrown into that mix is, well, you can't just manage agents as a resource, because you have to now manage them as people as well. Because how do you then make sure that their mental health is okay? Because previously they had somebody sat next to them, or they went for a coffee, or they went for lunch with somebody, and they talked to somebody, and you might have a one-to-one with them. Whereas now that seems like a long period for them not to socially interact with somebody else at work. So collaboration tools are really important here, and a lot of contact center agents, based on the segment they're in, they don't really get the use of that, chat functions and things like that. But also you can use technology, analytics. Analytics plays a much more important part than it ever did. Before, it was the icing on the cake when it came to contact centers, whereas now you can measure things like emotion, engagement. If so, monotonicity, you can measure that. So if an agent isn't engaged, they don't react in the same way. They might say the right things, but they might be saying them in a way that gives something away about how they're feeling. So it's all of those things that you're currently doing, quality management, compliance, all of those things should apply exactly as they've always done, but there's a little bit extra that's needed to manage people. And we forget, when everyone's in the building, we forget that they're people. People are looking at a board and going, well, I need this many agents at this point in time, and that, whereas there's more to it. Again, I won't go on. But yeah, it's incredibly important to think about the additional stuff on top of what you're always doing. I think that's what it is.
Okay. Another thing that we're all doing a lot of now, we're all at home, is video calls. I think I have like 5 or 6 a day most day, and I know lots of people are having them. Is this, Fernando, do you think this is a new way that we're going to be contacting our customer service representatives? Would we be using video calls more in that sense?
Well, there's a potential, yeah. But the first thing that comes to mind when we talk about video in the contact center is that it's not a novelty. It has been around for more than 10 years. So it has been possible for more than 10 years. And I've witnessed some projects back in 2004. So really old days. At the time, the project that I've seen and I was involved with, it was to allow vulnerable clients, mute people, to be able to communicate with an agent, obviously with the gestural language. And I think that that was quite successful at the time, and situations like that are still quite successful. but there has been limited implementations of that. And the implementations that I've seen, and the ones that were not like specific for specific situations like the one I've just described, they didn't have great success. And I think the main question is why? Why is that? And this is just an opinion, but I believe that it's if the caller, if the customer doesn't feel the need to be seen on a video, then he shies away. Why would he start a video call? So I still believe that the video calls into your contact center make perfect sense, but they will be for specific situations. So imagine breakdown services, imagine repair services. You want to be on a video normally associated with a mobile app. You already have a contractual relationship with that organization, and you are getting in touch with them, and you're showing them that the boiler is leaking or something like that. So obviously adding that video, that visual layer on top of the interaction adds value. And that's where the users will adopt that more. That's my view.
No, that makes complete sense. So I've got a question here from a customer. I'll read this out to you. Excuse me, I'm going to read this one. We are an IT team that manage all MACD changes for our business. As we have grown, we have been overwhelmed by the volume of changes the business asks for us, and now we're seen as a bottleneck. What can we do to make BAU contact center changes more efficient? And that's from a customer.
Yeah, it happens quite a lot, and I think it's because contact center changes, they are seen as very complex. Also, contact centers, they work over extended hours, so you need to have the right person to make the right change at the right time. So and sometimes, because any change you create on the contact center will have an impact on the customer journey, it needs to be tested thoroughly, and it takes a lot of time. And people that are non-IT, they shy away from that. They don't want to get involved. They leave that with the IT, and that happens more and more. And the less they do, the less they will want to do, because the less comfortable they feel. And I think the solution for that, because obviously this creates an overwhelmed and overloaded IT teams like the one our client was describing. I think the solution for that is empowerment. So they need to have the right training, but also the right tools to do some of those tests. And those tests, those changes, they need to be split into the ones that you clearly want to maintain under the control of the IT teams, and the ones you want to empower the supervisors and contact center managers to do. Things like changing holidays, changing SLAs and routing strategies, changing all of these things should be they wouldn't require an IT team. That's what I'm trying to say. We have some tools. We have a bag of tools where CC Navigator is one that Natilik built that allows exactly that. So it will make very, very simple, very user-friendly, something that normally is perceived as very complex. So this is something that I would invite any customer to attend the demo of, and understand if that would be the right fit for their organization, because it will simplify the way users will interact with the system. That's for sure.
And if anybody does want a demo of CC Navigator, I will give you your contact details at the end and let us know, and we can arrange that for you. So on to my next question. So this is for Ajmal. And how would you prioritize improvement for a legacy environment that's been underinvested for a long period of time? I.e., should we jump straight to digital transformation or focus on improving the WFO practices?
That's a good one. I mean, we've got lots of customers and lots of potential clients, and that we've had this very conversation with. They've got something and it served a purpose and it's been brilliant at what it does, and they've come to a point where they think, well, do we need to move to the next phase? Now, I'm always a bit hesitant when an organization comes to you and says, give me a piece of technology, because you're sat there thinking, what outcome are they trying to drive? And where's their data saying that this is what they should do? Because you might go, I'll give you exactly what you want, but they might turn around and say, actually, it doesn't do the thing that I wanted it to do, which I never told you about. So if you're trying to drive an outcome, you might go and speak to somebody and say, well, actually, the thing that you've got, you're not actually leveraging it or getting the maximum benefit out of it at all. You might need a software upgrade, and it still has the ability to act as that little bit of an integration layer to pull all that information together and proactively reach out to your customers or bring that context when they call in. And you might need it upgraded. And we have a lot of customers who come to us with that, and we just say, do you know what? Let's not change it out immediately. Just let us manage it for you. Let's make sure that it's robust and reliable, but it's still delivering on the business outcomes that you're trying to drive. And we can put some things in around it that might make it a hybrid solution and something like that. But the next stage after that would be, well, what about the people? What about the processes? Are you mature enough to go, well, actually, we've maximized everything we can get out of that. And the next stage is to change the technology. But I see lots of these things on LinkedIn and social media, 5 steps to digital transformation. It doesn't happen in 5 steps. And the thing is, when people say it's a new technology, we always talk about people in the phases that our customers, the phases it's going to happen in, so they can maximize each stage. So the first stage might be you're going to move to the new technology, but you have a strategic plan. You might have innovation workshops, and run them in an agile way, continually reprioritizing the benefits that you want to gain. But that way, you're maximizing the investment in the new technology to get you to where you're going to, and be able to manage and measure it at every stage. So it's, you can invest in what you've got and get the maximum out of it, and really sweat that asset. But again, if you're working with somebody who says, well, actually, I can do that for you, and I can manage it and make it robust and reliable, and then help you with the next phase, then that's the ideal thing that you want to be doing.
That's good. We have a few questions here about home working and how we can help facilitate contact centres to homework, and what the challenges we see, and whether we see it as a long-term goal. So I'm just going to go and group them on and just ask for both of your guys' opinions on agents home working. So actually, you've already heard a little bit about what you had to say. So Fernando, how do you see the move to home working and what that holds for us?
Well, I think the main thing is home working should not be different, and I think Ajmal just touched that. Should not be different from working in the office. It should be exactly the same. The tools are there. The tools that we use to monitor the agents and to track down the quality of their call handling and digital interactions handling, they are the same tools. It's just the location of the agent that sits in a different place. Ajmal touched the very important point of, obviously, people will now be disconnected if they are home working. So the social aspect of it is the one that we need to put focus on. There are solutions in the market, and obviously we can help our clients with that, to track down mental health issues or the well-being of the agent. Is he kind of really enjoying his journey although working from home, or does he need to socialize a little bit more? So, but from a technology point of view, which is normally where I'm focused on, there shouldn't be no different, and there are multiple options to implement that. To achieve that.
You got anything to add, Ajmal?
Well, there is a little bit I was going to jump in on, because we're talking about it so much at the moment because it's been a leap from almost 0 to 100%. Everybody's gone home, and like Nando said, that technology has been around for so long, and you have to ask yourself, well, why didn't people do it before? And the issues that are being raised now are very particular to what's happening right now with the pandemic and everybody being forced to work from home. But it could have happened before, and you think, well, why didn't it happen before? And I mean, I think it might have been a question of trust, because and how can you say, well, I don't trust the segment of the workforce that's the most monitored segment of the workforce ever? What they say, when they say, how they say it, when they go to the toilet, how long they go to the toilet for, and then suddenly they're going to work from home, and everybody's going, oh, well, actually, it's working. So, but the thing is, now they're having their work and home life mangled together. Children are at school, their partners at home, and they might not have a dedicated space, or it might be somebody who's living in digs, doesn't even have a desk or a chair or a screen. And all of these issues are kind of clouding the real thing that we should have evolved to this stage. So I think, it's kind of the box is open, the Pandora's jar is open. And I don't think there's ever any going back. There will be some people who will want to go back, but there'll be additional things that you'll have to consider, the security, compliance, all of those things. They'll have to be revisited, but I think, the door's open on that now. We're heading down this route, and it's only going to accelerate.
Thank you very much. So our next kind of questions are about new technologies and how that's affecting kind of customer journey and how that's affecting contact centers and how they're working and how we contact them. So the first one I've got is, what do you see as the role of automation? Is it to reduce customer contact, or is there another reason for it?
Is that for me, or is that for me?
Yeah. Fernando, you want to jump in on that one?
In terms of automation, sorry.
Can I? Do you mind if I jump on this one, Nando?
Yeah, mate. Yeah. I think it's probably more on your profile, I would say.
Only because I get this question a lot, and people talk about it expressly as a way of reducing contact, and I think it's not a way of reducing contact. You're actually increasing the contact, but you're doing it more on demand, and it's more frictionless because it's always available. And if you've done it correctly, you've automated the many repetitive low value transactions that people do day to day. And it's like, banks do it now. Check my balance, or what's my credit card, or pay off my credit card, that kind of stuff. Then what you're doing is you're taking that low value stuff that doesn't really need a person, you're taking that away and you're automating it. And some of it, with the advent of IoT and 5G and stuff like that, you're proactively reaching out to people and preempting something they might do. But so it doesn't mean actually I can get rid of a whole swathe of people sat in contact centers or sat at home now. But what you're doing is you're freeing them up for the more specific and complex tasks that don't just require the human brain, but they also require the empathy that comes with it and the context that you need to deliver in a conversation. And when you're doing, you're trying to innovate and move your organization forward, that's where it comes from the benefit of having those people and being the creative force behind it.
So there's around automation as well. Is this similar to what you'd say around the use of bots, and do you think that's going to be accelerated? And there's a concern that this is going to reduce the amount of human agents, but from what I'm understanding of what you're saying, it's not going to reduce the need for human agents, it's going to just change what they're doing. Is that how you?
Yes, I mean there will be some where, say for example, there are large retail organizations and they're constantly being bombarded with, where is my order? What's the refund policy? If it makes up a significant enough proportion of their customer contact, then you go, well, actually it is going to reduce the spend on the buildings, the power, the technology, the people, and so yes, it does. But if you're absolutely realistic and say, well, is my customer experience as a user and a consumer of a service improved by using a bot? It probably isn't. But what it does is it makes it always available, always on. So you can use a bot or some automation at any time of day from wherever you are. And it makes it so there's some customer service available at all times. And if you do it in a really good way, for that specific use case, it's brilliant. But if something more complex happens and you're using that automated route into the organization and the contact center's closed, it's incredibly frustrating. And you have to recognize that really early and say, hey, you're not going to be able to get that answer immediately. Do you want to call us back at a different time, or do you want me to call you back? It's that kind of thing. Again, it's all context and things like that driven. But
just to add to this point, I think this obviously also adds emphasis on the agent job, because obviously if we automate all of those niggles that would be handled by an agent before, but now we automate, now the agent, the calls and the interactions that get to an agent, they are really in a need of a human being. So they are more complex, and they need a better trained agent, a person that has obviously a lot more importance in this customer journey than before. So just to highlight on that point as well.
So talking about new technologies, how do you view like things like Google AI into our solutions? How do you see that as the future? And that's for you, Nando.
Well, interesting. I will not be able to reveal all of the things I wish I would, but yeah. So let me start, and then let's see where this takes me. Cisco obviously has, and I believe it's commonly known, but I'm going to introduce that here for anybody that might not know about it. So there is a Solution Plus program that kind of groups a select group of providers, a select group of Cisco partners, the vendors of software that develop software for Cisco and normally for Cisco alone to complement the Cisco core solution. This obviously will enhance what Cisco can provide and make sure that if you select one of these select partners from within this ecosystem partners, you are sure that you have something that will work with Cisco, that it will be working with Cisco in the future, and that really adds value. So Google AI is one of those partners at the moment. And Cisco is leveraging on Google AI for speech recognition, for text-to-speech, and for chatbots and voice bots. However, Natilik and Natilik alone, so outside of the Solution Plus partnership, we are working with Google as well. And we are at the moment developing some Natilik products that will analyze real-time conversation with an agent, and it will try to identify the customer sentiment, will try to identify the context of the conversation, and then based on the backend systems where we would include the knowledge base, would provide the agent some guidance on what they should say and should not say, or where the conversation should be guided to or where it shouldn't at all. So watch this space, stay tuned, it will be coming.
That's very exciting. So we just want to know your final thoughts then on what the future of the contact centre is going to be and what people should be looking out for. Do you want to go first, Admiral, just for your final thoughts?
Well, on the future, it's because there's so many different services now. I mean, I remember just maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago. I mean, Brando will remember this as well. When you deliver a contact center, and someone would say, "Oh, there's a service that I need to connect to," and you'll be there going, "What? You want to get to the internet? That's madness!" And before it was always like you're going to create a vulnerability, and you're gonna create a problem with data coming and going, and what about firewalls and this and that, whatever. But whereas that's just ubiquitous now, it's everywhere. So the future is, I mean, as we see it, and the demand that we're seeing is to create that kind of layer that says, well, actually, I can connect very easily to customers and give them that frictionless journey, whether it's through automation, proactive customer service, or they're reaching out to you via voice or a digital channel. But from a customer point of view, they might be on a journey to cloud. They might be still on-prem, or they might have some applications that are now cloud native. So, and they'll all have APIs. So to be able to pull on all of those things and bring that to the fore for an agent, if the agent is needed in a particular conversation. Now, the great thing about that is the future of the agent is changing. And Fernando hit the nail on the head when he said, it's not going to be about processes and technology and things like that agents are going to have to learn. They're going to have this specific skill will be interpreting lots of information that gets popped up on the screen. It will be, this is who's calling, this is what they previously did, this is the mood they're in, this is the likely thing they're going to ask for next, and they'll have to apply the right context, empathy, tone, all of those things really quickly and get the customer on board, because people have started talking about voices becoming less important because of all of these other things that are being developed, and we talk about them and we sell them, and they're great and they're evolving very quickly. But to me, the role of voice is more important than ever, because if you've escalated through all of those different channels and you've got to voice, it's because something somewhere has gone wrong. And this is the contact center's opportunity to retain that customer, win them back over. And if that agent is able to say, "Hi, Mrs. Smith, I see that you're trying to make a payment and it's not worked very well. Why don't I help you with that?" And then you might even say, "Well, here's a voucher for next time." And the next time they call, you just call it out and say, "Oh, sorry, that was a bit rubbish last time. Let's help you spend that voucher." You're calling it out rather than hiding from it. And that's where I think I see it heading.
Fernando, your thoughts?
Nothing really specific to add to this one, to be honest, Suzanne.
Okay, well, thanks everybody for coming. We have got some for joining in today and listening to the questions. If you have any more questions, please do get in contact. We also have some exciting news of something coming soon. So watch this space. We've got some more contact center knowledge sessions and lots of exciting things coming. So yeah, they'll be coming to you very soon. But that's it for today. Thank you all very much for coming, and we'll hope to speak to you all soon. Thanks, guys. Thanks for answering all the questions.
Thank you.